Hi, I'm Dana, welcome back to another video on my channel. I wanted to talk a little bit today about autism and gender and sexuality because I think for me at least they're very intertwined, and from what I've seen from other people, like autistic people's references online and opinions and experiences, a lot of us think they're kind of connected. Personally, I'm bisexual. That's how I identify. I identified as pansexual for many years because I didn't want to exclude trans people from that. But then I realised that I was like excluding them from being the gender that they are by counting them as like trans women versus just women. So I just go for bisexual now. And the whole gender thing's something we're still figuring out. Gender just doesn't bother me essentially. Like it's a difficult concept for me to even wrap my head around, which is something I think most people don't think. But I just don't understand why being a woman means that I need to like being physically female means that I need to like do certain things or act in certain ways or dress in certain ways. So I think if we were really gonna get into it, I'd probably identify as non-binary, but I have no issue with like female pronouns. So that's its whole own thing. Growing up, I think I got really lucky because my mum also just doesn't care about gender at all. Like I've got two older brothers and they both had like baby dolls and prams and stuff as kids, which like other lads in the 80s did not, because my mum was just like, well, one day they're gonna be dads and they wanted this baby doll and this pram, they liked it, so they got it. And she maintained the same mentality for me growing up. So I did have like Barbies and Bratz dolls because I wanted them, but I also had like Connects and Action Men and like the boys' toys. And obviously growing up I was a huge Doctor Who and Lord of the Rings fan, and a lot of the merch and toys for that was catered towards boys. So it just, although it was obviously catered towards boys, like in the adverts it was always boys playing with those toys and it was very blue. But I didn't really process as a kid that it was meant for boys because I just, no one told me that. Like if I was like, oh, I want that toy, I didn't always get the toy, but if I didn't get the toy, it wasn't because it was meant for boys, it was just because like my parents couldn't afford it and I wasn't a spoiled brat. You know, it was some other reason. It was never, no, that's meant for boys. It was, we can't afford that right now, wait until Christmas or whatever. And especially when it came to my clothes, I don't remember my mum ever like dressing me. Like I remember needing help to get dressed because I was so young, but I was always like, my mum would open a drawer and be like, what pants are you wearing? Do you want to wear a dress? What shirt are you wearing? It was always open to me to decide. And when we went shopping, we've always shopped in charity shops, and it was very much just like if I went, oh, I like this, I want this. And again, I didn't always get it, but it was never because it was a boys thing, you know. And 9 times out of 10, I probably did get clothes from the charity shop because I needed them. And if it was boys' clothes or girls' clothes, like, did not matter. I got what I wanted. And obviously having 2 older brothers, I quite often got their hand-me-downs, and I was just a total tomboy. You know, a lot of my friends were tomboys or just straight up boys, and I just dressed like a boy, and it didn't register with me that I was dressing like a boy because no one told me that I was dressing like a boy. No one made it a thing. It was just, Dana wears those clothes, they're Dana's clothes. So especially as a child, gender just like did not mean anything to me. It just didn't really register with me. It just, I liked some girly things, I liked some boyish things, and that was just me. And I was just allowed to like be myself and be who I was. And then you get to the teen years, you get to high school. Oh, that was when I had a phase. We'll call it a phase. That was, I think high school was when I was like masking the absolute most in some ways, but not at all in other ways. So although I dressed very odd and quirky, I always made sure it was from the women's section. Like I stopped shopping for men's clothes at all. I would not entertain the idea of wearing any sort of man's clothing. No men's shoes, like boys, men's, whatever. Like I just would not do it. And it was 100% because I'd gotten to the point where like it was, oh, you're a girl, why are you wearing that? Girls meant to like be wearing dresses and skirts and makeup and doing your hair. Like girls aren't like that. And I really internalised that. I didn't know that was what I was doing, but it absolutely was. I was just like, shit, I need to be a girl now. But especially for me, that was the time when I was first like really considering my sexuality, because I didn't really realise until I was a teenager that that was something you were supposed to like know about. You know, growing up, I had a lot of like crushes, and it wasn't Like, I was probably having like crushes on celebrities from the age of 8 and onwards, but it wasn't like a crush, you know, it wasn't fancying them. It was just, oh, I love this person. And as I got older, that like just never went away. Like, you know, like, I think it's fucking bisexual law at this point that all of us were awakened by The Mummy, because Evie and Rick are just both, and that was definitely true for me. That was probably the first time where I had essentially a man and a woman in front of me and realised like, oh, I don't like one of these in a different way to the other. I don't prefer either of these. I like them both in the same way. And as I got into my teen years, I was watching, I was a fucking Tumblr kid. It's cringe as shit now, I know, but I was a complete Tumblr kid. So I really was just like submerged in queer culture. I was just constantly seeing and discovering more about being gay, because I was aware of like homosexuality from a really young age because my oldest brother's gay, and it just, I knew that that was something you could be, but I never considered it was something I was, because sexuality just makes and made so little sense to me that I never really realised that everyone wasn't just attracted to everyone. Like, not that I'm attracted to everyone, obviously, but gender just doesn't come into it at all. Like, it does not make any sort of difference to me in the slightest when it comes to attraction. And I just assumed that everyone was like that, because why wouldn't you be? Like, men and women are basically the same. We have a personality, and you either like or dislike that personality. And if you like it, that can grow into something more. And I just assumed that everyone was interested in both, and it was just mostly men and women that got married because it was easiest or whatever. Most of me questioning my sexuality wasn't me questioning my sexuality, but more so just realising it wasn't the same as everyone around me. Because I grew up in such a supportive family where it just didn't make a difference, it just didn't matter, you just were who you were, regardless of sexuality or gender. It just wasn't a topic. So I had to really just learn more so what other people were doing, more so than what I was doing or feeling. And it was in high school that I first started to like think more and figure out more about gender, because it was the first time, like, I was probably 15 when I first like heard about feminism and started to become interested in what it was. I also had a friend that was questioning their gender, and I really didn't understand that at the time. You know, I had that very sort of boomer mentality of like, you're a boy or you're a girl, because that's what there is. So when they were coming to me and saying like, oh, I actually feel more like this gender than this gender and so on and so forth, I just didn't grasp it. Like, I tried my best to be nice and supportive and be like, oh, okay, but I just didn't have any idea what they were going on about, because I didn't think gender mattered, because it didn't matter to me. Because a lot of the things they were saying about feeling uncomfortable with the gender that they were, I was like, well, I can relate to that, and I'm not questioning my gender. Like, I'm just a girl, it's fine, you're fine. And obviously that's not how I'd react now. I understand like gender matters a lot better, although I've never claimed to be like the expert on gender. But that was very much the first time that I realised that not everyone just doesn't see it as a topic, I suppose. And like, I was friends with this person when I was like 13, 14, maybe 15. And it probably wasn't until I was about 17 that I heard about like trans people and was like, oh, that's what was going on with them. And obviously that was also the first time then, once I found out about trans people existing, that I was then like, oh crap, well, if I'm not a girl, then what if I'm like meant to be a boy? And I did like more looking into it and was like, well, I'm definitely not trans. I definitely don't want to, like, the idea of being a man repulses me, so it's not that. But also like, I don't feel like a woman, I don't feel like a girl. Like, it's such a non-topic to me that I'm just like, you're just who you are. Like, you've, not to be crass, but you've either got a dick or a vagina, and who you are as a person is not in any way defined by them. Although obviously I understand body dysmorphia, well, I don't understand, but I'm aware of body dysmorphia, and I'm not trying to shit on anyone with this. I'm just trying to put across how I personally feel about myself. And that's why I do very much think that being autistic plays into it, because so many of my thought patterns, I suppose, are very, it's this or it's this, you know. I am quite a black and white person. I have to really like work mentally to get to a grey place and see like the in-betweens and the morally ambiguous and so on and so forth. It's the black and white thinking of you can fall in love with someone. People are brilliant. And like I say, as far as I'm concerned personally, everyone's so different anyway that their gender just doesn't mean anything to me. I think most people's sexuality is so rock solid, like they just aren't attracted to like members of the same sex, whereas girls are pretty and men are pretty, like everyone's fucking pretty. And like I say, everyone's personality is so different that I don't see how you can decide that their body means that you're not going to love them, I suppose. You know, like you could meet your literal soulmate that's like the perfect person whose personality meshes perfectly with you, and you're telling me that you're not going to go with them just because they're the opposite gender and you've decided that you're straight. Like, it just doesn't compute with me. I feel like it sounds like I just want to keep my options open here, which is not the case because I'm in an 8-year relationship with a man. But you know, I'm in that relationship because his personality meshes perfectly with mine and I love everything about him. And I'd hate to think that I'd in any way not connect with that just because he's a man. And in the same way, if I'd met a girl who I felt that way about, I hate to think that I wouldn't have gone with her purely because she had a female body. It just doesn't make sense. And I wonder if maybe it's like because I'm autistic that I overthink it to this degree, but I just don't understand why you wouldn't. And obviously that applies to like gay people too, because like, are you really telling me that if you met this woman that was like perfect for you, or in the case of a lesbian, a man that was perfect for you, you'd be like, no, just because, I mean, it's the sexual attraction. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I understand what neurotypical people would tell me, because it's like, well, I'm not sexually attracted to them. I'm just like, but why? But why not? Like, if they're pretty and you like them, why not? And obviously, as you heard at the start of the video, I don't really, I don't want to say I don't understand my own gender, because I feel like I'm very settled in my gender and who I am. But at the same time, it does feel like I sort of don't, because I'm just such an amalgamation of masculine and feminine things. And things like, when I was telling my therapist that I wanted to cut my hair short, she told me like, oh, well, you'd look lovely with any short hair because you've got such a feminine face, so it's not like you look like a boy. And I thought, it sort of made me uncomfortable, because I don't necessarily want to look like a boy, but I don't not want to look like a boy. I don't not want to look like a girl. I don't want to look like a girl. Like, I just want to look like me. Like, you know, it doesn't really bother me if me is feminine or masculine. I just want to be me. But at the same time, I have like a very strong connection to womanhood. You know, I'm a feminist. I'm very into feminism. And I love the platonic connection that you can have with other women as a woman, which is something that you like, do not get as a man. No matter how in there with the girls you are, you just don't. It's, you know, being autistic means that I'm kind of socially awkward. I'm not very good with social things, so I've rarely had many friends. But the friends that I have had that have been girls, the times when you just get to hang out doing girly shit together have been some of the best times of my life. Like, I absolutely love it. That it's just such a pure connection that you have with other women that I absolutely adore. But again, I don't feel like I necessarily like see them as, oh, women or girls. They're just my friends. They're just people with personalities that I like, and that's why it's a good time. You know, I'd be having just as good of a time with a load of men if they wanted to paint their nails and braid my hair. And at the same time, I've obviously had a lot of male friends and been in like sort of in the boys club, but being a girl, you can always feel that you're not quite there, you know? There's still some things that they say where they sort of look at me to see like, oh, was that okay? And things like that, which, I mean, it wasn't okay first off, but secondly, I don't want that. I want to just be a part of it in the same way that I can be with girls. And only men get that, which is fine. Like, we're getting the girly one, but it's about the personality, you know? It shouldn't matter. I don't know. this is what I mean. I just really don't understand the point of gender. You know, I'd like to think that that means that I'm like an extra open-minded person or something. Like, I just really don't give a shit. And I don't mean that in the way of like I won't respect people's gender, because I will. Like, I purely mean I don't understand why gender matters so much in society, or my own gender. Anyone else's, if you tell me you're a woman, you're a woman. You tell me you're a man, you tell me you want they, them pronouns, I will call you whatever the fuck you want. I will respect you as whatever you are. I really don't care. But I care enough to respect it. But when it comes to my own, nah, I just don't care about gender at all. I don't think it matters. I think it's kind of silly. Like, I don't even see clothes as being gendered, because once I've put it onto my body, it's my clothes, and it's not gendered anymore. It's just mine. But that's not how society works. It's not the culture we live in, which sucks. It should be. It'd be a lot nicer for a lot of people, I think. I think being autistic for me just means that some things just really don't matter at all. I think things like gender, where a lot of people feel sort of pigeonholed in to having to be a certain way or do certain things, I just don't particularly feel, and I don't really care about. And I think that's a mixture of being autistic and also having worked on myself to just care more about being myself than being someone that people like or think is cool or whatever. You know, it matters more to me now what I think of myself than what other people think of me. Or at least that's what I'm working on. You know, in a lot of ways, being autistic has held me back. In a lot of regards, it's been a very negative thing for me. But I do think this is one areas where it does feel sort of like a superpower, because I do feel like it makes me just more open to everyone. Because, you know, whatever sexuality you are, whatever gender you are, I just don't care. I care about you as a person, not as your gender or sexuality, which means that although I don't care about your gender, obviously, I care about you as a person, so I'm going to respect who you are and the things you like and how you feel as a person. But I will see you as a person and not necessarily a man or a woman. I don't know if that's okay or not, but I feel like it's kind of a good thing. But this is the end of the video because my cat's here now, so I don't want to carry on with her just hanging out. I feel like it'll be really distracting. I did that in a different video and she gave a better performance than I did. I don't want to be overshadowed again by Jodie. So thank you for watching. It'd be really nice if you subscribed and stuck around to watch some more. I hate doing that, I hate saying it, but I feel like at least if I do it at the end of the video, you've actually seen what I've got to offer. So do that if you fancy it.